Hey guys, welcome to Fully Defined. My name's Chris, and in this video, I'm answering one of the viewers' questions. And my question comes from D. Disperson on my Discord. It's fairly quiet in there. But after watching one of my recent videos, he asks, did I understand correctly that you design a multi-body part and then take this into an assembly mode? And do I have a video about this? And so what he was referring to is a process that I've shown where I use a master part file, which contains sketches and some reference geometry, but a lot of multi-bodies. And then I split that file into parts and bring it back together in an assembly. Now, I have done a video on that kind of process before in my designer series using this brown bear from the Animals project, but I did that using the split bodies tool in SolidWorks. And that acts differently to what I'm about to show you. So now let me show you my process that I use commonly for splitting my master parts. I'll talk to you about the benefits of doing it in that way as well. Let's jump in. So in this series, what we've done is created a master part, which I can show you by coming back to this file. So brown bear master, and you can see here I'm in a part file. I have a series of sketches. These sketches had some images attached to them. Okay, so using the sketch tools, I had those in, and I have a series of bodies in this file. And then what I used to create the child parts is I used a save bodies feature, which you can see down here. And when I saved bodies, I saved out these 6 bodies into a child part, which would have looked like this. And I can tell this is a child part because there's nothing in the feature tree except for this stock item. Now that stock item does link back to the master file where I can press edit in context, but nothing else comes into the file apart from that solid body. Okay. Now I can save that file, which I have, as a separate part, and then I've put them together into an assembly. But there is another way, and there is a better way of doing this. So I'm going to show that to you now and show you the difference between the two files. And now to create or to work from this master file into my new parts. So what my aim here is to do is to again split those parts into child parts and then put them back together. I'm actually going to grab a new part file. So instead of doing any sort of feature from here using save bodies or right clicking on a body and going insert into new part, I'm going to start my new part file and then click insert part. And now any documents that are open, it's going to show me a preview. So similar preview to what you might get when you're in assembly mode and you're going to drop a part into an assembly, but there's a key difference here. This is using the insert part feature. And you can see here the open document, and it's the selected, the only open document I have. Now this document only has one configuration, but if you had a part file which had multiple configurations, you could select from which configuration you're going to take your parts. And then under the transfer options, I actually have a series of tools here, which I can select from. Now by default, usually solid bodies is ticked. You also have the option to select surface bodies, axes, planes, cosmetic threads, absorbed sketches, unabsorbed sketches, custom properties, coordinate systems, model dimensions, whole wizard data, etc., and body and part material. Now, typically, I will only include a few of these. They are usually solid bodies, surface bodies, if I'm using surfaces for reference, and rarely, but sometimes axes and planes as reference geometry, and that's typically it. But I'll go into an advanced topic in a minute. Now, the other thing that I want to do is, in this case, if I was to press the tick, what it's going to do is drop this part at the origin, matching the original part. So that is perfectly fine. If I was inserting a part in to this assembly and I was wanting to match it to something else, I could use locate part with move copy feature, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. I also have the option here to break the link to the original part. That's something you would want to do if you never want to have it linked back to the original. Typically, I would suggest leaving that unchecked because you want to be able to path your way back to the master file. Different for everyone though. All right. And visual properties, you can propagate from the original part. Doesn't always work, but I'm going to tick that one here. So I'm going to press OK. And there you go. It's brought in my brown bear master file. I have all of the solid bodies here. Okay, and then under that, I can also see the solid bodies. So instead of a imported part like a stock body, I've actually got a feature there which links me straight back to that part file. Now, how do we work from here? Well, what we would do is next use the delete keep bodies feature. Now I'm going to use keep bodies and I'm going to select here the main body of the animal and OK. And that's going to delete all the other bodies. I'm just left with this one. And now this is the one that I would save as that standalone part and then use going into my assembly. So I'm going to quickly take you through that process. I'm just going to create a folder here. I'm just going to give it a different name to avoid any conflicts if I was to open both files at the same time. So this is going to be my insert part option. So IP, Brown Bear Body 02 and press save. And now that has saved it as a part. Now we don't get the real benefits just yet. I'm going to go through the process for the rest of the parts and then put them into an assembly and then show you the difference. All right, we're back. So I've split each file into its own child part. I used a series of save as to save duplicates of each file. And then I changed the delete keep body feature to select a different body. Now I'm ready to create the assembly. Now, very similar to when we did the split features tool on the original, for each of these child parts, they share the same origin. So we can just insert them, press the tick, and they'll be at the correct location in the assembly. The only thing is they won't have any mates, but that's okay. We can always add those if we need to. So let me go through that process. I'll set up the assembly, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the advantages and some of the tips and tricks you can do using this tool that make it a bit different from the split bodies feature. All right, our assembly's done and we've saved that as IP Brown Bear. Now let's have a look at some of the differences between the parts from the split bodies version to this version. And I'll show you some of the tricks that we can do. Now, I've just opened up two assemblies so that on the left-hand side, you can see the original, and on the right-hand side is the new version. Now, in the left, if we open up one of the parts, let's open up this body. And I'll just put this on the left again. You can see that this body has a stock item feature, and that's it, nothing else. If I was to edit that feature, it's going to take me back to the Brown Bear master, and I can change what bodies are included. That's all I can do. I'm not going to do any other changes there. If I open up the body from the new version, now we can see the difference here. We can see that the part is inserted. We can see the delete keep body feature here. But here's the thing that we can do that we can't do in the other one. I can edit this feature and I can select to include, let's say, unabsorbed sketches. Press OK. And now it brings in the file with the sketches from the original part. And if I press this little drop down and press this drop down here, I can see 4 different sketches. And if I press show, it's going to open up and show those sketches. Now, I included the sketches which had the sketch images. We can see there's a limitation here. It's not bringing in the sketch image. unfortunately. But we can see the sketch contours and you can see their dimensions. Now everything is grey in this because they're all controlled by the master part, the original, but you can use them to actually create new geometry or make changes to your element. What I mean by that is I can do a sketch here on the right plane. I can select these sketches. All right. I can select, for instance, the head reference. I can convert that. I can trim away. And I can use that like a normal body and create a new revolve using that reference geometry. And that's what's so good about this tool. So if I needed to make any changes, okay, or reference something else, I can bring that in. The other benefit, let's just suppress that one for a second. And let's hide these sketches. The other key benefit is you can actually bring in multiple parts, which is what we did originally. Okay, so let's say I actually needed to do some changes to the tail and they were going to impact this part as well. I could do these changes in the child part rather than going back to the master. So I'm going to change this delete keep body. We're going to edit it to include this feature here. I'm just going to roll down now. I'm going to isolate this body. Let's going to make a change to make it a bit thicker at the bottom end. All right, let's say for whatever reason we want to have that a bit thicker and then have a bit of a gap. I can then use, let's say, the indent feature, target body. Target tool is this. I'm going to cut. And let's say I want to cut and actually give it some clearance. I can put clearance in. I can press OK. And then if I want to get rid of that body, I can just go delete keep and just keep this one. And now that change, if we do a section view, we can see that change is now in this, included in this file here. Now, this example project, obviously they're quite simple parts. You could just go back to the master file and do that change. But often as you're doing more complicated designs, you can't put every single detail in that original file. You want to separate some details, such as it might be draft features, it might be edge details, such as fillets and chamfers. It might be part identification, okay, such as part numbers or engravings onto the parts, part numbers. You might want that in the individual part files. Using this tool on the right, using the insert part feature rather than the split bodies feature, will give you much more versatility with your files. The last point we'll cover before we wrap up here is the split version that we can see on the left. Often we find, or found in the past, that it can be very sensitive to changes in the original file. So if we were to make some changes that were impact this body, it could be as simple as cutting it away or merging it with another file. Okay, merging it with another body. Let me use combine in the proper way and add those two together. All right, and then if I was to put save bodies after that, you can see that save bodies now has a error. What's wrong? And the number of output bodies has changed. One or more derived parts created from the split feature are going to lose their input body. That's a very, very sensitive tool. Whereas if we make that change here, but we go to this version, okay, my body's still there. Yes, it's combined, but you know, everything will be here. At worst, you might have to go back and edit the delete body keep feature. All right, but it's generally going to be much more robust and a nicer way at work. So we'll wrap that up for today. Hope you enjoyed. I hope that answered your question, DJ person. If anyone else out there has a question they'd like to ask, please hit me up in the comments on any of the videos. Send me an email to chris@fully-define.com. The address will be in my contact details below, or you can jump on my Discord. It's very quiet in there, and send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. See you in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, please like and share. If you've got any suggestions for other content, leave it in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And there's some other videos here. Check out. Thanks.